Something, yeah. You have to try the ways.
Sounds like you've earned it.
If you pick like the same week as everyone else, like, hey Billy, hey Steve, how's it going? How you business last year? What have you been doing? Oh my gosh.
Little basketball. Sleep in confined quarters together.
Hey, people having like break operations. I can't. That's my prison weekend.
It's booked up.
Seems like it happens every. Yeah, I kind of think it to be on that weekend.
Deliberately.
Understand that. You know, flexibility. Whatever you want me for. That's my prison weekend. Oh, trying to be the endless. Oh, prison weekend.
Can't make it. Got a scheduled training.
Like, Dad, you want to make a shift? Not yet, but I'll find out this weekend. I'll look into that. I'm gonna know some people.
Something involving lighting toilet paper on fire and melting plastic.
Megan, is that seat next to you?
Hang out here for a little bit. Daniel's boys' school's following. Got some guys. They're off next weekend though. 2 weeks now. I'll fit the high traffic spawner.
Okay, well, thank you guys all for coming. We're still waiting on our speakers, so I'm not sure. Let's wait for this way. If not, we have a lovely conversation about winter activities and section business. Do you mind running down through this stuff?
Pardon?
Do you mind running down through those things once we get
Oh, sure.
underway here?
Yeah, should we go ahead and start?
I feel like we should. What do
Okay,
you think?
yeah, we can.
I'll see if I can find it.
All right, everybody. Well, why don't we go ahead and start? I'm Dylan Lawrence. I think, the secretary of the section. And before we get started, who do we have on the phone?
Roby Russell.
Hello?
Hello, Roby Russell here. Yeah, Jerry Boyd here in Spokane.
This is April Hope at Idaho Ball.
This is Tyson Nelson.
This is Christy Smith from Holly Troxel.
Okay. Anybody else? All right, well, thanks for joining. And for those that had registered before, I did just enter in the email addresses to get the Google Hangout started. So if you want to watch video along with it, then hopefully that invitation has made it into your inbox. We do have a speaker. To my knowledge, he's not here yet, so we should run through some of the business items. The first thing is when the invitation for the meeting was circulated. There were minutes from a couple of prior meetings attached. So I don't know if anybody had a chance to review them, but do I have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved. Second.
All right. And all in favor?
All right.
Anybody opposed? All right, motion carries. The second thing, I mean, I think it'd just be a good idea to thank Emmy and recognize what a great job she did putting together that CLE. Was that last week or the week before?
It was the 15th.
15th, yeah. But I thought it was excellent. I went, it was honestly, I mean, one of the best kind of half-day CLEs that I've been to in some time.
Thank you.
I thought that having the 3 different panels, one of practitioners, one of technical experts, and one of decision makers, judges, I thought was really good to have the different perspectives. I thought the written materials were good, and I thought like the anecdotes that the 3 practitioners had at the end were just very helpful. So great job, and I don't know if anybody else was able to attend. I do see some faces here, but if anybody wants to add anything, then please feel free. And maybe this can give us a window into how to do some, the future half-day CLEs.
I know that DPD is available because I was sick, so I contacted the state bar to see if they could just transfer the money I paid so I could rent it and it's available and I get to think of that tomorrow.
Great.
So it will be out there for other people who missed or for people that want to watch it.
Okay, that's good to know. Yeah, that's definitely one that's worth renting. And I don't remember, what are the terms of rental? Is it a nominal fee to rent the DVD or something?
Yes, because I had prepaid, they just told me to sign and date it and that it would be available. But I think there is a little fee that they charge you and you get it and you have to turn it back in within 30 days. You're not supposed to run the disc or you pay $100 or something.
Yeah. Okay.
One thing I want to say is that I couldn't have done that with all of your input. So thank you for all your input too. It's definitely a group effort. So it's adding in.
Yeah, it was really good. We have gotten, the section's gotten a few in did Allie have her baby?
Allie had her baby.
Okay, maybe she-
Yes, she has a little boy, Finley Emmerich.
Wow.
And they're home and happy and healthy.
Good.
Nice.
All right, well, so congratulations to Allie and her husband. So the section did get, Allie did receive some, solicitations from organizations. So we'll just run through a few of those. One email that she got was from somebody at the Environmental Law Society at U of I. And it sounds like they kind of emailed for two separate purposes. So we'll start with the first one, which is asking for whether the section might be willing to make a donation. I think what they were saying, and Liz, correct me if I was just gone, but I think what they were saying is because that the environmental program at U of I is still all based up in Moscow, that they have trouble bringing speakers up on environmental topics, and so they were wondering if the section might be willing to to contribute some amount of money to their effort to bring speakers up to Moscow. And they didn't really, as I recall, the email didn't have a particular suggested amount or something like that. So I don't have a lot more sideboards to put on it than that, other than to just open it up for discussion. I mean, it sounds to me like the type of thing that the section generally supports. I mean, it's related to environmental law. But with that said, I'll just put it out there for any discussion or comments.
So I know a few of us were recently on the board or the leadership panel for the Environmental Law Society. I was the past president, and this is a real concern. Being based in Moscow, having speakers with either a national or sometimes even regional perspective requires you to find some way to fund their travel to Moscow.
Right.
And the budget is not large. The group does some fundraising activities every year, and that's a requirement for them to continue as a student group. But when I was the president, we were looking at maybe the ability to get one national level speaker in a year, and that wasn't in line with what we were hoping to present as a group. So I think it would be money well spent.
And do you know or recall, I mean, is there a particular symposium that this is for, or is this more of an ongoing thing throughout the year?
In my experience, it was for presentations to the student body, so kind of one-off nights or panel discussions on a particular topic.
Yeah. Okay. I know we have a couple of past chairs here. Do particular dollar amounts jump out at any of you in terms of donations the section's made in the past for this sort of thing?
I think we've done like 250s. I was just looking at the past budget and we did a couple, we had budgeted to do $200 for like an award gift scholarship column. I don't know if that exists or if it's a donation. I don't know how, we could tell the bar how we see it categorized, I think, but 200-ish, I don't know how much it would cost to do some of the travel. And if that would help defray, if they're seeking contributions from others, if we be a contributor, not necessarily needing to put the entire bill or how it would be.
At least in my experience, and I mean, Megan could correct me if I'm wrong, but $200 would have been pretty impactful for what my cohort could have done. So.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
Well, it might be worthwhile to see if we could get CLE credit for whatever presentation that they give, so that then we can offer something to our members up in Moscow with
Sure.
that program. I think that would be kind of a condition on whatever we donate. They have to work with us to make sure that it also has value to our members.
I like it.
We might be able to generate a little bit of funds to then help promote that experience, like whatever money we get from CLE revenue, a portion of that will go back to their organization as well as ours too. That might be
Right.
something to consider.
So 200, 250, any particular amount, or should we try and find out more detail about how much they're thinking?
I assume this is to help defray the cost as opposed to sole source.
Yeah.
I think so. I can.
Because you're not going to get a national level. I mean, anybody traveling from DC, let's say, for $200 in travel.
Yeah, I mean, the way it's termed is we're seeking out financial sponsorships to help cover the costs of bringing speakers here to Moscow.
Yeah, so with the idea that they're probably gonna be getting help from other areas too, we can certainly maybe think about the 200 range.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thoughts on that?
If that's in our budget, and I haven't seen the new one. I don't remember when they were.
Yeah, I mean, I turned one in January, and we still didn't know how many members we had, and we didn't know finals on the CLE. But I mean, in general terms, there's enough in the planned budget for a $200 or $250 donation.
I think that's worthwhile. It helps support the school here in the state, especially with some of its members eventually coming this way and participating in the section.
Okay. All right, and in the past, do we officially vote on these types of things, the donations, or do we just get a general consensus and then go with it?
I think we had to go. I didn't bring. I'm sorry, I didn't bring our bylaws, but I think we do have to vote.
Okay,
Remember when we did last time? Tyson was the one who now gone.
I think he's on the phone.
Tyson, are you on the phone? I missed that.
Yeah, I'm curious. I am on the phone.
Okay, I still miss you. All right, do you remember, we had to vote, right? Because you were the one that brought up that we couldn't just give the money to the teacher scholarship part, is that right?
Well, that's
I
just 'cause
can't remember exactly, so I apologize, but I think there was something that there had to be some action, so official action taken.
Is everyone in favor?
Yeah.
All right.
Cool.
One thing would be nice if they does go to word speaker. Next year they'll probably ask us to do it again. I'd like to know who the speaker is that goes for it. So the loop back would be the
Yeah.
speaker to go towards. And maybe you want to get more, maybe you want to get less. I mean, but that'd be a data point next year.
I think we as members additionally can think of quality speakers that suggest to them that they may not have faith in travel.
Okay. Well, the other aspect of the email that Allie got from the Environmental Law Society was also, sort of an invitation to try and formalize a relationship between the environmental section and the ELS in terms of, I mean, I think there was a mention of kind of a mentoring program connecting existing practitioners with members of the ELS, and then there was also a suggestion of, well, because it's hard to get people up to Moscow maybe during their spring break, if they wanted to come down and have some sort of a get together with members of the section. So those were the two things that were suggested in the email. So again, we can just kind of talk about what makes sense. I did look, and the U of I's spring break does not coincide with Boise school districts. They're, I think U of I is March 16th, the week of March 16th, and the Boise school district is the next week, the week of March 23rd. So that may be helpful. And I could, I remember, I don't remember when this stopped, but at some point, maybe between, I don't know, 5 years ago or so, there actually was some sort of a mentoring program where, members of the section did speak with U of I students who were interested in environmental law. And I mean, it seemed to go well. Erica, do you remember why, or did that lose momentum, or?
What was that, Jill?
Wasn't there a mentoring program at one point where members of the environmental section would get paired up with environmental law students at U of I and tell them what they did and give them suggestions?
There may have been. I think Murray Feldman sort of unofficially ran that program, if you will, for a while, and then when he left active participation in the group, I don't think it's been picked up since.
Right. Okay. Well, does anybody have any thoughts on either of those?
Right. The mixer seems like a good idea, especially if they're coming here.
Yeah.
That doesn't.
I mean, that's what it sounded like they were suggesting, is that if something was planned, that they thought they would have a convoy of folks to come down.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm certainly not averse to the idea of a mentoring program, but I would want to know a lot more about what it would be, kind of what the expectations would be of the mentors, and how to make it a meaningful experience for the students who participate.
Right.
So.
Okay, so our meeting for March is that week after. It looks like it coincides with Boise School District spring breaks.
Okay.
So they would miss our meeting, but then if it's during our spring breaks, I don't know how many people will be gone on vacations with kids. So there's maybe something to consider with you moving our meeting up a week so they could attend if they wanted.
Oh, okay. Yeah, good point.
I know there are other sections that meet on that day, so if you're involved in those water litigation or property or whatever, that might coincide with maybe the homework, but this one's my only section.
And what would be the date of that?
That's the 18th.
I'm jury duty that week.
Something tells me you'll still be free.
It'd be all
Yeah, I like the chances.
I think we may be getting stood up, but let's continue with section business.
Should we try to call him?
We can try.
Stephanie can talk more while he does.
Put me on the spot.
She doesn't mind enough to grow.
What do people think? I mean, would we do something at like Barnay, a restaurant, a bar, during?
How many people do you think would come down, did they say?
I know.
So it's kind of.
Yeah, that is an important, yeah.
That's what I was thinking, if we had a meeting they could come to, rather than getting everybody together for maybe what might be 2 people, not that this would be
Right.
important.
Okay, so you're saying have that be the event as they come to a section meeting.
I would think maybe to start things off, and then if we knew more numbers, and if they told us there's, if there's 8 of them, we can see who's available that night and just kind of blow it.
Right. That is a good point. I mean, you need to go through a ton of planning and some
Right.
expense and all that to set something up, and then have 2 people show up.
Not that I'm opposed to us.
Would they
going
be
down
coming
drinking.
down here for something else also and just tie this in with?
I not that I recall. I thought they made it sound like it was more, this would be the goal, but I can't say that for sure.
And if it was something in the evening, maybe at one of the law schools, facilities here in town, is that something people might attend? Maybe not.
Yeah,
I guess that's-
a section meeting that's at end of the workday rather than lunch, to me is fine. We've done it with the water section and this section. And it can be in one of these pub rooms, restaurant rooms. That's fine. Or the law school library here has done, light refreshment reception type stuff. So something like that should work. If they're focused on that spring break week, I don't know what else is going on. If there was one of these energy summits or other environmental law, natural resources law themed events that they take advantage of and get students in for free, whatever, that would be great, but I have no idea what's going on.
Okay.
Them joining us at a section function for a while, particularly if we have our, some kind of half-hour CLE program.
Well, we can certainly circle back up with them and see if they can give us some idea about how much interest and how many people they really think will be coming, down here before we make a final decision on that aspect. But it sounds like the general consensus is that combine it with a meeting that's potentially, towards the end of the day. And okay. All right. Anybody have an objection to just leaving it at that for the time being?
I think they're probably just the right beginning stages, reaching out what could be done. And
Yeah.
we're coming back with a what could be done meeting. And it could be an evening CLE and business meeting for us, and a happy hour after. They meet and mingle, different types of people do environmental law.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, the last stage is not coming off. It's not hard to rejigger our policy.
Yeah.
I think we can give them a full green light, realizing that there's a labor step to actually lock it down and make it work.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Well, and also back to the mentorship thing. Is that somebody that folks would be interested in doing? I know you, Nick, what you said about, I'd like to know a little bit more, but again, I think at this point it's just, in its infancy stages. And I would imagine it would be like the one that we had before, where it's just an opportunity for them to speak to somebody and get advice on the ways, the different opportunities for practicing environmental law and that sort of thing. So, I guess we'll keep the ball moving on that as well and say, yeah, there's general interest in pairing up with a mentorship program, and see if they had any other particular, thoughts on what it might look like or what they wanted to get out of it.
Maybe it's a good topic for a meeting.
Yeah. There you go. Kill two birds with one stone.
I have a little less thought on mentorship because my own personal experience as a student, I had two of those fizzle. I was the student side of that.
Yeah.
And our own one fizzled some years ago. So I just I packaged that a little bit to, the effort for us and the fizzle again is sort of a little bit, why is it happening and what differently. So I don't mind rolling it down the road, but at some point it can come a little come to Jesus meeting, like what's going to be different here? How does this work?
Right. Yeah.
So
I think the one time that I did it, it was more of the ball was in the students' court and say, look, I'm here if you want to give me a call, and you could bounce questions off of me or whatever. So it took virtually no time or effort on my part, other than just there was a little administration of trying to pair people up with the appropriate people, and then getting on the phone for half hour, an hour to just talk about environmental law. So I hear what you're saying, but I wouldn't imagine it would be something that would require a whole lot of investment on our part up front. But
It really makes sense then to talk to Murray and see his
Okay.
thoughts on it, what he did to set it up, if we would want to follow or pick that back up, or if there were problems or things he would do differently.
that's a good point. Okay. All right. Let's see. Another email that Allie received was from somebody at the University of Utah who wanted to let us know that they are putting on an air quality symposium March 4th through 6th. And they also asked if we could, circulate a more formal kind of email notice to the whole section, which we can look into. I don't know that we necessarily have a whole lot of discussion on this particular item, unless somebody wants to. No? Okay. And then I think chronologically, the last solicitation that Allie got was for the Women in Law Gala that's on March 4th. They were asking whether the section either wanted to sponsor a table or just make some sort of a donation. Unfortunately, it was an extremely tight turnaround. Like, they sent the email on a Tuesday and said, we need to know by Friday if you're going to sponsor a table. This was back in kind of mid-January, a couple weeks ago. So, and the, you know, compared to what we're talking about for donating to the Environmental Law Society, where we're sort of in the $200 and $250 range, as I recall, the minimum for sponsoring a table at this gala was like $750, and on up for there if you want to, you know, have be at a higher level or whatever. So, any discussion on that one?
Does anybody,
My firm is sponsoring it as a firm, but I'm not sure if we sponsored whether that would go to, which would I go to. It is a bigger chunk of money.
Yeah, that, you know, they gotta pay for dinners and stuff. That's pretty pricey for a group like this, I think.
Yeah.
It's good to be reminded of, I think our firm. But, they'll have other sponsors.
Right. I mean, the section could theoretically make, you know, not worry about sponsoring a table and just make some, you know, some sort of a small donation. That's the sort of plan B.
Encourage people to attend as individuals. Maybe efficient.
Yeah. Is that the general consensus? Okay. Any news on?
We are getting, I think there may be a scheduling conflict. So I don't think he's coming. We will try to reschedule. I'm sure he'd be up for that.
Okay.
I wasn't able to connect with him, so I left several messages and one with the front desk at the PUC. Sounds like he may have been out to lunch. So.
On multiple levels.
But I know, April, are you on the phone?
Yeah, I am up here.
April went to the Energy Symposium up in Sun Valley and was graciously willing to say a few words about it. She also sent me a link yesterday to the Energy Symposium's agenda, which included videos of all the presentations. So we're going to see, I'm going to try to forward that to the State Bar and see if they'll circulate that to everyone in case it's of interest. And if you have a few minutes, how did it go, April?
Yeah, it was really interesting. Did anyone else on the line end up going? Or am I the only one? Okay. It was really interesting. Most of the focus was on renewables. There was a presentation on flaring of natural gas, which I thought was really interesting. I'm not sure if any of you do any of that work. But there was a gal who presented on flaring. So flaring is when you burn the well for reasons that either you're unable to package it or there's other reasons why companies will do it. It's not something I'm super familiar with. So that's one presentation that I thought was interesting that didn't have to do with renewables. There was also another presentation that I thought was relatively good. It was hard to hear because I think she's in Vienna right now. Her name is Melissa Powers. She's an associate professor of law at Lewis and Clark School, and she did a really in-depth presentation on the potential impacts of Section 111B's Clean Power Plan. I'm not sure if any of you are familiar with that, but that might be worth watching if it's something that you kind of deal with in your everyday work. She clearly knew what she was talking about. She spent a lot of time on it, and it was very detailed. A lot of the talk was about how we have embedded choices, how our legal architecture and the way that we have our grid structured is from the past, and there are challenges that we'll have to face as we try to usher in the future of energy. So some of those presentations were really interesting. Let's see, they talked about wind scattered resources. That was the title of one of the presentations, which I thought was really interesting, and the challenges of wind and integrating that into the grid. One other presentation that I thought was really fascinating was about national monopolies and utilities in the market for rooftop solar. So I guess this is prevalent down in Arizona. A lot of utilities are trying to convince regulators to give them a natural monopoly in selling solar panels the people are getting them on their own and installing them, and it's affecting the utilities revenue or the amount of money that they're able to make, because these people are, purchasing their solar panels away from the utility, and they're able to bring their power bill down. And so the utilities are essentially requesting that they be allowed to have a monopoly over selling solar panels, and how controversial that is, which I had no idea that existed. I thought that was really interesting. So those were the big ones that I kind of wanted to touch on. I think maybe the last one that would be worth watching is the Northwest Power System and regional power planning. That was in the second day at the 3:45 p.m. portion of the agenda, and I thought that was kind of, it laid out the issues with putting together regional grids and power planning for regional areas. I hope that was helpful. That's kind of all I've got. It would be worth kind of checking out the agenda and seeing if there's anything that would pertain to what you all do.
Yeah, great, thank you. We'll try and see if we can get that link to the agenda and the videos circulated then.
Great.
And sorry for the confusion today. I'm so glad you guys were all here, because it sounds like we got a lot of session business to go through, which was really helpful. We will try to connect with Joe again and see if we can reschedule, because I was really interested. I think that's a great topic.
Liz, this is Bob Maynard, for those of you on the phone. It's just one item that April's talks about reminded me of. There's an upcoming Idaho Technology Council sponsored, or they're participating technology type conference. And I had made a point at the recent meeting of saying, and they were talking about speakers, that something that's important in Idaho is to remember that the natural resource industries are also high tech. It's not just the DRAM manufacturers and the kind of cutting edge new stuff. It's everything from potatoes to timber to mining are all using sophisticated software and other technology solutions and equipment and so on. So, but bottom line, they were interested in getting a speaker who would be articulate about technology in the natural resource industry, mining, forest products, whatever, ag. So if any of you have, I've got a couple ideas, but if anybody thinks of someone, Idaho-wise or otherwise, and I don't know the date, I think it's the next 3 months or so, I can't remember the title, but basically just call me at Perkins County or email me, Google me, whatever. If you've got a name, I'd like to hear it.
Well, Bob, I don't know about technology generally, but in terms of Steve Edgar, I don't know if you're familiar with Steve Edgar. He's relatively local, and he was just awarded the first FAA waiver for the use of drones for agricultural purposes, and he's very savvy technologically, and I think there's going to be, in general, an expansion of the commercial use of drones in a variety of contexts, but specifically ag in the state of Idaho. So that might be too narrow, but he's certainly somebody to consider. And he's with Advanced Aviation Solutions out in Star. But before we conclude, I wanted to just remind everybody about the Advocate article that we have in May. Right now I have 4 authors who have very generously volunteered their time to write articles, and I just wanted to, it's the type of thing that slips off people's radar pretty easily, so I just wanted to remind everybody that the deadline for submissions to Dan Black, to the editor, is March 11th. And of course they'd be accepted earlier, but that's the outstanding deadline.
And is 4 articles sufficient? Are they asking for more? Or what?
I believe 4 articles are sufficient. I'm going to talk to Dan about it. If he needs a 5th, I'll come up with one. I'll write one, unless somebody else has an idea that they'd like to put in an article.
Is there an expected length on that typically?
1,800 to 2,800 words is the author guideline. I know, just because I just did one for the real property.
Okay.
And I have an author packet with guidelines that I thought I circulated, but I'll circulate it again.
You may have.
I'll circulate it again
as a reminder to the authors.
So,
Thank you.
yeah.
All right, thanks for that update. And how are we on future CLEs? Do we need to talk about potential topics and speakers, or?
Yeah, does anyone have ideas, requests, speakers, your burning desire to get up and present? All are welcome.
We did have Bob suggest Stephanie on oil and gas. So. There's one that's in the bag, right?
Give me the background, just get out and show it again.
So that would go into
I want to see Steve Edgar fly a drone myself. That's kind of educational value.
Yeah, sure.
Any other things out there, issues that we should maybe try to track down someone to come in and discuss?
Well, an easy one would be after the session's over, just have legislative update.
Update.
Just
Yeah, those are always good.
ENR segments, just looking through.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Kate Kelly used to be our go-to legislative wrap-up person. Who have we used since she's
We have.
left town?
We stopped.
Well, yeah, that is a good idea, though. Maria, it looks like you're about to say something.
No,
No?
I'm thinking. I was about to say we should think about it and figure out who the right person is.
Well, if you have any thoughts or anything across anyone who would like to present or topics, issues that we should try to track someone down for, just let Dylan or Allie or I or anyone really know. Figure it out.
Any ideas on the phone?
No more.
No? Well, those are all the items I had. Liz, do you have anything else?
I think that's it from me. Does anyone else have any other thoughts, questions they want to raise? All right. Well, thank you all for coming. Again, sorry for the mix-up, but appreciate everyone's attendance and contributions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for
Organizing.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye.